Suzanne Giesemann is a former Navy commander and commanding officer who's now a mystic, medium, and author. Her verified connection with those in the non-physical realms allows her to share a unique and personal perspective on ancestral healing. Suzanne, thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you. What an honor it is to be sharing with all of you.
Thank you for that. I think your work is so fascinating that I can't wait to dive into this conversation, especially because you as a medium insist on only participating in evidence-based transdimensional communications. So let's start out with talking about that. Given that you insist on evidential proof in your work as a medium, what is it that gives you confidence in saying that our ancestors really are still right here, part of our lives?
I like that you use the word insist, Lisa, because I actually do insist on that from those across the veil, and they don't mind providing that evidence because they want us to know they're still here, they're still part of our lives. So the evidence are those things about their lives that I, as the communicator for them, as the medium, couldn't possibly know. And what's really cool is when they share with me things that even the recipient of the session doesn't know, but validates later or from other family members. That shows I'm not just reading my clients or my sitters' energy field or reading their thoughts. This is two-way, real-time, live communication with ancestors, with loved ones who have passed, but are still right here.
That's so fantastic to know, and I'm sure that people right now are sitting on the edges of their seats because I think everybody wants to have a piece of this kind of information. Oh, yeah. Let me ask you, how far back can ancestors go? I mean, is it only just the recently departed, or can people who've been gone for centuries come through?
Well, because we're tapping into soul energy, light, that are patterns of energy, but consciousness in expression, there is no limit. But we do, when we're dealing with evidence, want to be able to validate things. So there's only so much that history can tell us. For that reason, I think the farthest back I've gone is some relatives from the Civil War with some of my clients, showing actual artifacts that the family member still has here as evidence, recognizable, a little silver spoon, really cool stuff like that. Or somebody in the family was a general in the Civil War, and that's really big for their family. That was a great-great-grandfather. And I have gotten some great-grandparents, and a lot of mediums do get grandparents. I, in my work, ask for the immediate family, whoever's going to bring the most healing. So in many cases, that is grandparents, but a lot of times it's the parents, the spouses, the children who pass, who want to make their presence known.
Okay, so that's how you know that you're talking to actual ancestors, and not just picking up on the memories that the person that you're sitting with might have memories of them. So you're coming up with information that they don't know.
Oh, in many cases, yes, yes.
Okay.
And that's why it's when I share something with a client and they say no, I'll say, I need you to verify that with someone because I know what they're showing me. There's such confidence that comes with some of the connections. Not always. This is subtle energy we're dealing with. But sometimes there's no doubt in my mind, they want you to know this. And I tell my clients, get back to me to validate this. And I get emails all the time, oh my gosh, you were right. And it's so affirming. And I can just feel their loved ones rejoicing on the other side. Yes, now they know.
You've seen actual healing that can take place in an instant, and in my own personal life, I've seen that happen as well. Where just having a conversation with a loved one on the other side can help just either solve problems, physical ailments can begin to clear up. I wonder, can you share some stories?
Oh, I have a couple that come to mind right away, like the woman who sat across from me and I said, oh, your mother's here. And she comes with an apology. She's hanging her head and the woman stiffened. So just by body language, you can tell when you have something correct. So I silently asked her mother, what's that all about? And her mother showed me that she had abandoned her daughter, my client, as a baby, along with other family members. And this was absolutely correct. And the mother then showed why she had made that choice. And at the end of that 1-hour session, my client said, I've carried around anger at my mother for 75 years, and in this 1 hour, it's gone. Now, that's beautiful But if she had only realized that her mother was doing the best she could, we could have had forgiveness a long time ago. But that's a huge key. Another different episode or example of healing was the woman whose son had taken his own life, and she came to me ready to take her own life because she was so distraught. And he showed himself with such clarity, including the toothpick that always hung out of his mouth. It turned out that was his signature thing. Everybody knew him by the toothpicks. And he told her, "Mom, you don't need those meds anymore." She reported to work the next week, and everybody said, "What's with you? Are you on new meds?" And she said, "No, my son is my meds." She had just such a lift from knowing her son was not gone forever. Gone in physical form, that's an adjustment we have to get used to. But to know that they're still part of our lives is healing beyond words.
I'm wondering here, because not everybody has access to a medium, or they may have had a sitting with somebody who wasn't able to bring forth information they needed or evidence to help them to believe that this was real. So for people who don't have access to a trusted medium, what can we do to begin opening the lines of communication and actually believe that we are getting true information?
And you just hit the key right there, Lisa. Belief is the number one key. We have to believe the spirit world is real. Otherwise, we're not even going to try. I began this journey when my stepdaughter Susan was struck and killed by lightning. And seeing her body in that coffin was such a shock to me, because I realized then and there, it's the spirit that animates the body. And I went on a mission then. I'm going to find out if it's real. Is there really a spirit world? And I began reading everything I could get my hands on. And that started opening my mind, hearing stories from evidence-based mediums, having no idea I would one day be one, because I never had that ability or the awareness of it until after Susan passed. So as my belief opened, I then began practicing to quiet my mind, thinking, I want to have that connection myself. Nobody told me I couldn't do it. So I was absolutely determined to open that up. And it has opened so beautifully. So what we have to do is have the belief that we can connect. Then we have to come into alignment with our true nature, which is light beings, souls. And the basis of that is love. So we have to clear out any sluggish energy within ourselves, anything that's not aligned with love. So this whole journey helps us as well. And then we have to simply shift our focus from being so focused on this physical world to belief and awareness that there is another world right here, right now. And by just having the intention and placing our attention on that world, even if we've never touched it before, that connection can be made by anyone, because we all are souls here and now.
Okay. So what would be some beginning steps? Because I think a lot of people, they may not believe, because they're either skeptical that there either isn't life after death, or that they personally don't have the gifts or talents to do this kind of thing. So maybe baby steps in that direction would be best. What would be the first steps to take?
Again, you've got to examine your own thoughts. What are my beliefs? Are they blocking me? It's okay to be skeptical, but be open-minded and open-hearted. So turn up your own light through loving thoughts, set the intention of connecting. And the first step would be talking to your loved ones, knowing they're right here, trusting they're here, and trusting that they hear you. Then ask for a sign that they hear you or that they're around. And you can ask for specific signs. What often happens that most people don't realize is when we ask for a specific sign, in that moment, before we say, I want you to send me in that brief pause, the very loved one we're trying to connect with puts a thought of a sign in our head, knowing we're going to encounter that in the coming days. So I want you to show me, this actually happened to me, silver medallion. And I thought, well, that's strange, but okay, I want to see a silver medallion if this is really you. And the next day I flew on an airline and just happened to leaf through the magazine in the back of the seat. And I'm leafing through it and it says, if you get enough airline miles with us, you'll earn silver medallion status. That's what I mean by a sign. You don't have to look for it. It falls into your awareness because you ask. so many people don't think to ask.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In fact, sometimes the signs sort of come without necessarily asking. Like, for example, my mother-in-law, every year on her birthday, her favorite music box just starts playing, and we have not wound that thing in years, but every year on her birthday just plays a few little tinkly notes, and we know that she's saying hello. Thanks for listening. Check out Castle Gate, a novel based on my own ancestral healing journey, at lisabonnice.com. In 1921, 4 men set off from Scotland to the United States. Will Garrock, his brother Pete, his son Willie, and his nephew Thomas, all coal miners. They left behind the miners' rows and the nationwide mining strike with its soup kitchens. Their destination was Castlegate, Utah, where they had kin to welcome them before sending for their wives and children. They prospered in America, working in one of the finest mines in Utah. Until that tragic day, March 8th, 1924. Disaster struck. 3 explosions, trapping 171 men inside. Rescue crews worked tirelessly for days, but sadly, they could not save a soul. Women were widowed and children were orphaned, and some never recovered from their broken hearts. Castlegate is the true and tragic saga of a Scottish family whose dreams of finding their fortunes in the bountiful coal mines of Castlegate, Utah during the Prohibition era explode in one of the most devastating mine disasters in American history. Learn more at lisabonnice.com.